Hello YouTube, my name is Rihanna B and welcome back to a new season of Survivor and a brand new Survivor review series on my channel. First off, I gotta let you guys know, I'm currently recording this at 1 in the morning because I worked when the actual episode was airing on television and it was a 2-hour episode, so by the time I got off work I had to watch 2 hours and I had to take notes and all that sort of stuff, so it took me a while. But I'm sitting here right now, I'm ready to dive in with 5 pages worth of notes. So let's go ahead and get started. So first off, I have to note about the tribes. First we have Malowal? I don't even know if I'm saying that correctly, but let's say Orange Tribe for now, because I may butcher the name quite a bit. Let's see, on that tribe we've got James, Stephanie Gonzalez, because there's 2 Stephanies on this tribe. We have Jacob, we have Brendan, we have Laurel, we have Stephanie J, then we have Michael, we have Angela, Jenna, and Donathan. And then the purple tribe is Naviti, that I can't say. We have Wendell, we have Desiree, Sebastian, Chris, Dominic, Chelsea, Kellen, Libby, Bradley, Morgan. I believe that is everyone. So we have our 2 tribes, and basically the theme of the season is Ghost Island, which, as we learned from the end of last season, was gonna be about redemption of past Survivor mistakes. And the whole theme is reverse the curse. So they're going to be introduced to past Survivor items that were involved with a major mistake in Survivor history. And the whole process is, how are these players now going to either flip the curse, reverse the curse, or are they going to still follow down the same path and let this advantage or whatever they find, you know, ruin their game? And an interesting fact which I didn't think was going to happen, I thought from last season that they were all going to be living on Ghost Island, but turns out Ghost Island is actually kind of like a newer version of Exile Island. One player from a tribe is going to go to Ghost Island where they're going to interact with different items from past seasons, and they can either go to the island and get an advantage or some sort of power, or they just will be stuck there because maybe they can't get a chance to earn anything. So it's a very interesting play on the whole Exile Island concept. So, right off the bat, we start with a quick little reward challenge, and I'm going to look at my notes for this. So, the tribe had to pick one person to represent their tribe as a whole, and from Malowal, I don't know if I'm saying that right. They chose Brendan, and then Naviti, they chose Chris, and then the leaders then had to pick 2 people, one who is more skilled in the physical aspect of the challenge and the other for the puzzle portion. And Brendan chose Michael and Laurel, and then Chris chose Sebastian and Desiree. And the winners of the reward challenge were going to get, you know, well, they're already at camp, they already have like a pot, machete, very small amount of rice, and I even think Jeff said this is the least amount of rice that they have ever had in Survivor history, which making it very, very difficult. But they would each get the opportunity to have a fishing kit, and very well-equipped fishing kit, but the winner would also receive building supplies, 20 eggs, and a flint for fire. But there was a twist. The thing is, if you won the challenge, everything from the physical to the puzzle, you would get a chance to win everything. But because there was a timer that was going on for the puzzle portion, you could forfeit the challenge to keep your fishing gear, because you could lose your fishing gear. So it's a little confusing, I know, but at the end of the day, Chris ends up forfeiting the challenge because none of the girls, Laurel or Desiree, none of them were really even close to finishing the slide puzzle. So Chris forfeits, and that makes Malowal win, and they get everything from the building supplies, the eggs, and the flint, plus the fishing gear. But Naviti did still keep their fishing gear. And the thing is, right off the bat, when Jeff asks if Chris made the right decision to his tribe, Dominic, who's going to be a very interesting force this season for however long he stays, he already just like rose his hand up and was like, I don't think he did the right decision. And he also made, I think, an error in his gameplay when he said, you know, I'm honest, I don't lie. What kind of game are you trying to play here, bud? I'm sorry, but being honest and trying not to lie has gotten people in some very heavy stuff and heavy situations in past seasons. So I think that was a dumb move on Dominic's part. I did not like that he said that, but we're gonna move on. We also have Michael, who is lying about his age. I think he's trying to pull off that he's like in his early to mid-20s, when in actuality he's the youngest person in this season. I believe he's 18. So I don't blame him for trying to lie about his age, because it could technically be considered like a weakness, but at the same time, if I'm looking back at Millennial versus Gen X, Will was, you know, in high school, he was the youngest person, he made it pretty far, and he did very well. So I'm not too sure what that's going to mean for Michael. We also see that Donathan is starting to form a lot of relationships with people, really wanting to bond with as many people as he possibly can, in particular with Laurel. But it seems like he's trying to just get on everyone's good side. Also, as we mentioned earlier, Dominic is starting to become a very, like, upfront type of a personality. He's very talkative and he's very loud, and I feel like that could become a problem once the season actually gets more intense, because the more talkative and more honest you are, that can really hurt your gameplay and hurt the alliance that you're with. So I'm a little curious to see how that's going to play out for him. I'm scared to say this could be an issue of a new Ben, a new Tony, perhaps, for the season. I don't know. We're only 2 episodes in, so it's a little hard to tell. But we also did see a relationship forming between Chris and Sebastian, and that they are trying to target Dominic. They think that he's very, like, a little crazy, he's a little loud, da-da-da-da. So that is the main focus for the 2 of them. Back at the other camp, we also have Jacob and Donathan kind of portrayed as the more outsiders of the group. They're not a part of, like, the big, muscular, beautiful men of the tribe. So that's something that gets played on. And then, I gotta admit, Jacob has got some balls on him, because he, right off the bat, starts looking for an idol. Something that you really don't do this early in the game unless you're willing to have a target put on your back right away, and you have to live with that for the rest of the game. So I don't think that was a smart move on his part. I understand where he's coming from. Being a super fan, he wants to get ahead of the game. But the thing is, if you're trying to get ahead of the game, you've got to play it right, because if you don't, then it can actually backtrack your game. And then now back at the Naviti camp, we also have Chris and Sebastian trying to bring in Wendell, but Wendell ends up going to Dominic because Wendell kind of likes Dominic, and that kind of starts forming an antagonistic type of a thing between Chris and Dominic. So I'll talk about more of that later, but in this episode, that's the start of it all. We move on to the first official immunity challenge of Survivor Ghost Island, and we end up having Naviti win. And the twist with Ghost Island is that the winning tribe gets to send a person from the losing tribe to Ghost Island, and that means that person is safe from tribal council, so they can't be voted out. So with a lot of help from Jacob, Jacob does end up going to Ghost Island. Jacob does end up going to Ghost Island in his attempt to play it up, so he needed to go, like, with a lot of big talk. A lot of heavy gameplay from Jacob right now. And now that we are actually on Ghost Island, we see a ton of different immunity idols from seasons past. We see pretty much all of Jeff's snuffers, that he's to snuff out the torches at the end of every episode. There's a lot of stuff. And then there is this row of urns, and you have to hit the first urn. So Jacob hits the urn, rolls it up, and it tells him to follow the path of fire, and it'll take him to what is called the Game of Chance. In the middle is like a bamboo basket, or a bamboo, like, chest, and there's a lock on it. And next to the center bamboo, there are 2 other bamboo baskets right next to it. One is a key, one does not. And the whole point is, if you pick the one with the key, you win a secret advantage. If you don't, you don't get the advantage, but you also lose the ability to vote at your next tribal council. And that is huge. If you cannot vote at tribal council, that can truly screw up your game because you can't add a vote to help go your way. So that's a big risk to take. Jacob did take it, and he ends up picking the right one, and he does get the secret advantage, which was the secret advantage back from Game Changers, which I talked about quite a bit in my Game Changers review series, so you can go check out that if you want to hear more of the details. But they did sum up what the secret advantage was. Basically, you can use this as an extra vote in either top 13 or top 6. But you can't use it any other time. And famously, Sierra had it for most of the game, and then she told Sarah. Sarah blindsided Sierra, and then Sierra does end up giving the advantage to Sarah, which she used in that crazy tribal council that ended up sending Suri home without a vote. But the thing is, they say in the note that advantage has no power any longer, and the only way to gain the power back is if Jacob gives it to someone on the other tribe, which is a nice little twist. But he ends up choosing Morgan to send the advantage to. And this could either work very well for Jacob or very badly for Jacob. So he really had to think about who he felt like he could trust just from, first impressions. Now back to the Mallow camp, we have the chopping block, which is Stephanie Gonzalez, which they called her Gonzalez because there's 2 Stephanies. And we also had Donathan because he's been kind of perceived as the weak player because he's not as physical as some of the other guys, which we already talked about. And there's a couple of good and bad reasons to keep either one. Donathan may be not as strong, but he can be very loyal. He seems like the type of person that takes his relationships very, very seriously. So I feel like that's something that any player could use to their advantage. And this could work really well for Donathan as well if he plays his cards right. And then for Gonzalez, she's strong and she's very smart, but that's perceived as a threat, especially further down the road. Do you want to get rid of your big threats as soon as possible? Or do you want to wait till later, until closer to merge, so you can still get as many people on your tribe to merge as possible? So there's a lot of what do you need to do here? And then we get to Tribal Council, and already for the first Tribal Council, a lot of crazy stuff went down. So Gonzalez ends up going up and talking to Brendan and talking to other people, asking who they're voting for. Of course, they're all going to tell her Donathan when they may in actuality vote for her. And then, of course, people start talking to other people, It just kind of turns into this big, free-for-all of who the hell people are voting for. But we get to the vote, and Stephanie Gonzalez becomes the first person voted out of Survivor Ghost Island. And now moving on directly to episode number 2. We start off at the Naviti camp, actually, where Dominic is having a hard time sleeping. I don't know if it's something they're gonna play on later, but they're saying it's possible paranoia, just because there's so much going on in everyone's head in this game that maybe it's not helping him sleep very well. But he ends up looking for the hidden immunity idol in the dark. Don't know how he did it, but yes, he did end up finding a hidden immunity idol. I swear to God, he's going to be like Ben, or he's going to be like Tony. He's going to be very aggressive in his gameplay. He's going to stop at nothing to get what he needs for him to move on to the next day. I would not be terribly surprised if I saw him closer to the end of the game, because of if he's going to play just like the 2 of them did. So we're going to have to wait and see on that. But he actually ends up getting the hidden immunity idol that belonged to Andrea back in season 26, which was Caramoan, which was the new Fans vs. Favorites. And that idol she did not play, and for that reason she ended up going home that episode. So basically it's the same thing. It's going to be a hidden immunity idol, same purpose as any other hidden immunity idol, but the whole twist of, can Dominic use it in the correct way? And we're going to have to wait and see on that. So while Jacob is still on Ghost Island, he ends up making a fake idol, and his thing is he's going to tell everyone in the tribe basically the whole spiel about what happened on Ghost Island, and that is truthful. But he will lie about him getting the secret advantage, and instead he's gonna say, "Oh, I found a hidden immunity idol," just like how it normally would be. The problem is that not many people are buying it. Brendan already assumed that he thought it was a fake idol, because there was also a thing about Jacob forgetting to bring the hidden immunity idol note that usually comes with it. and there was a thing that he didn't have it because he left it on the island, and that really rose a red flag for Brendan and a couple of others. So you could definitely say that Jacob did not sell that whole spiel as best as he could. But we do find that Jacob has found a new ally in, well, now we can call her Stephanie because there's no other Stephanie anymore. So Stephanie ends up wanting to work with Jacob because she sees him as a very cerebral player, and that she really could use him to help her game. And then back on Naviti camp, we have the face-off between Dom and Chris, and Dom wants to kind of figure out what's going on in Chris's head. Chris ends up kind of confronting him about the idol, which of course he's gonna lie about, but he thinks about it and then he ends up taking Chris to where he hid the idol. But Dom actually made a fake idol and he hid it in the same place where he kept his actual idol. But he kept the note that came with his immunity idol, the real one that he found, and then he mixes it with the fake idol and shows it to Chris and claims that that is the real idol. Now, honestly, that's actually a pretty good move. But the thing is, I feel like Chris is very, very smart. Chris, I think, is someone who's not gonna fall for a trick like that very easily. And I think that this is gonna make him and this rivalry, as of now, very, very interesting, because it's not gonna be a one-sided thing where one person's definitely way more intelligent move-wise compared to the other. I think they're very even. So I'm kind of anticipating what this whole rivalry will produce. Then we move on to immunity challenge number 2, and Naviti ends up winning again. And sadly, James really, really struggled in the water portion. He could literally barely get underneath the surface. And granted, I've never swam in deep ocean before, so I can't really say like how difficult it would be. But the fact being that he's a very physical guy, I was shocked that he was not that great of a swimmer. But I think one of the most inspiring moments was when Donathan, who was with James in that run, he didn't want to go down, I think out of fear and just thinking he couldn't do it. He braves up, he goes into the water, puts on a mask, he dives down, and he releases all of the buoys that were meant to go into the basket. He did it, and to me that was a very heartwarming moment because I feel like if I were in that situation, I'd be terrified to fail, but he took it on and he did it, and he was very proud, and I was very proud of him myself. So even with that, they still lost, and Naviti did end up choosing Donathan to go to Ghost Island, and when he gets there, sadly, there is no game of chance for Donathan. So he obviously can't do anything, he can't look for anything, he's just gotta stay on the island until the next day, or the next couple days. I'm not too sure how that whole thing works. And then, of course, Jacob is very upset that he is not going to Ghost Island because he thought he would be saved again, but it didn't happen. So, on the chopping block, we have Jacob, we have James, and we have Michael. So before I get into the reasons why everyone is on the chopping block, first off, the whole plan is for there to be a split vote just in case Jacob lives up to his promise that he will play this immunity idol at Tribal Council, because a lot of them are very suspicious if it even is a real idol. And then we have the stronger bond between Stephanie and Jacob, and even to the point where Jacob trusts her enough to spill the beans on his secret advantage. And that's a lot of information for her to know, because now she knows that Jacob gave the secret advantage to Morgan on the other tribe. So this is something that could give her some leadway in the future, and this could really help her. And with this new alliance forming, Stephanie tries to bring in Jenna because they've been very close, but Jenna's very suspicious. And then Jacob tries to bring in Laurel and James. And I think they two are a little like teeter-tottering, like, do we want to, do we not to, da-da-da-da-da. So they are kind of up in the air at this point. We get to Tribal Council, and we try to get to Tribal Council, and I think Stephanie and Jacob, they're trying to push toward a Michael vote because they want to get stronger people out of the game right away, because they want to play the game really hard right away. I guess maybe because I'm a little old school, I kind of wish they would stick to just sticking with stronger members of the Alliance until maybe like halfway through the first half of the game, because you need them to keep your tribe strong so you don't keep going to Tribal Council. But I mean, times have changed and no one is truly safe, so I can't say that. But Steph and Jacob are definitely pointing toward a Michael vote because they want to get him out because of threat reasons. But obviously James because he failed in the challenge, and then Jacob because he's been very suspicious, very outside of the group. Those are the reasons why they're on the chopping block. So we get to the vote, and rather close between James and Jacob, but it turns out to be Jacob, and Jacob is the second person to be voted out of Survivor Ghost Island. Now, on to next week. Now on to next week's episode. Already, we're gonna have a tribe swap. And I shouldn't be surprised at that, but I was, because I really didn't think I thought we were gonna have one more episode of the current tribes, and then we were gonna have a tribe swap. But again, being Survivor, anything can happen, so I should have expected something like this to happen. But things are gonna get mixed up quite a bit. How so? That's left for interpretation until next week. And then also, we may have something big happening on Ghost Island. And granted, this is implied, but they did mention it, and I couldn't remember what her fate. It could have been Libby. It could have been Angela. It was one of the girls who has long blonde hair, and I know it's not. I don't think it's Jenna, but again, I don't know if that's one of their reactions to this whole thing. If that was part of the Ghost Island thing, or was just something else. We don't know. So it's implied that something big is going to happen on Ghost Island. Whatever that is, we will have to wait and see. But there's a lot of good stuff that's going to come out from this season. And since it's only the first 2 episodes, I really can't tell on chopping block as of yet, especially since we're going to have a tribe swap. So I'm going to just go through who I think has a good shot of getting to the very end of the game. I feel like Dominic is really going to put up a big fight. I feel like he's going to do a lot to get to where he needs to go, and if he keeps up that mentality and if he plays his cards right, it could really work for him, but he's really got to be cautious because he's already got a target on his back, so I'm going to say it's going to be 50-50 on him, but I feel like he is someone who could get further in the game. Michael, I think, is a really good player as well. It's just a matter of can he get through the obstacles. He had a close call with being targeted tonight, but can he use his smarts, being that he is young, can he use his knowledge of the game and himself to get further in the game? Again, up in the air. I have a good feeling about Laurel as well. She seems like a really smart and quiet girl. She is very analytical. I feel like she's going to really observe everything around her and then analyze what she needs to do. So she's someone I'm a little bit interested in as well. Stephanie is actually surprising me a little bit with her gameplay. I wasn't expecting her to be this strong. I thought she was going to be more from the Meet the Cast, that she was going to be more the kooky character, but I'm not really seeing that right now, so that's a little bit of an interesting twist. Again, I said Chris is very smart. I think he's got a lot of potential as well. Donathan I really like. I like him because he's just a sweet guy, and I was really proud of him from the second episode. How his gameplay is going to go, I'm not too sure as of yet. There's potential, but compared to everyone else, does he have the strongest chance to go? I'm not too sure. And then everyone else, I'm gonna need a little bit more information on them to really get a full grasp of their gameplay and how their game's gonna progress. But I think I'm gonna go ahead and end the review here. So I hope you guys are excited for a brand new season just like I am, and for a brand new review series. And if you are excited, give this video a thumbs up, leave me comments down below. What did you think of tonight's premiere, and who do you think is gonna make it farther in the game? Leave me those comments because I would love to read them. And if you wanna see my future videos or videos I've already done, go ahead, hit subscribe and hit the little bell icon so you can be notified when my videos come out. That's all I have for you guys today, and until the next video, bye! Mwah.